What's up guys, Brad here from Piney Grove, and today we're going to continue working on the front of our mega shed. Yesterday we got 5 railroad ties put in right there, and what we want to do is over here on this side we've got 3 to put in, and that'll get all the railroad ties that we need to start putting down some gravel up here on the entrance to our shed. Like I mentioned, we're done here on this left side. All this is fairly graded the way we want it, and over here on the right side we're going to put in these 4 railroad ties. And one more thing we're going to do. We have water from our well to this point right here, and then we have a basin here that goes all the way down to our pond 300 feet away. So what we want to do is add to that water line right there and put a 1-inch line to this basin. And the reason for that is our pond doesn't stay full during dry times, and by having this direct 1-inch line to that basin, we can try to keep the pond full with our well. That's an experiment. We don't know if that's going to work, but with a short piece of pipe, we can run the pump in the well all day and see how much it raises the pond, and then determine if that's a worthwhile way to try to keep the pond full. And there is my valve that goes to my pole barn, and I just added this valve here. I had left a little stub off of that T there to eventually put this pipe in we're putting in today. And I've marked out the line over there to the basin. I've got a 45 here, and that should be the perfect angle to go there to the basin. And then I've got this little basin cover, or this little valve cover I'll put right there. It'll look kind of silly, 2 next to each other, but I figured better to put the valve here than over by the basin down there. I should have left that longer on the stub out. It had this cap on it right there, and I cut it off as close as I could. But if I ever have to replace this valve and cut that, I don't have enough pipe there to put a new valve on. Things that you need to think about when you're plumbing, and when you're not a plumber, you just kind of forget. I'd much rather dig this with the excavator, but this particular pipe just doesn't make sense to bring it out and tear up all this ground for that. So I'm gonna dig it by hand. It's not gonna be fun. I got everything fitted and glued up, and I think we're ready for a test. Now, it is not pressurized from this valve all the way to the basin, but I went ahead and used a primer on the PVC, and also the blue PVC glue, which is the glue more suitable for wet conditions, although we're very dry here. But we should be able to turn this valve on, turn on the other valve. Water should flow into the basin. It should flow to the pond. And then we'll go check in the well or the pump house and make sure that the well's not cycling, that we're getting enough throughput so that as the well puts out 20 gallons per minute, 20 gallons per minute are going towards the pond without the well shutting off. See, the water's flowing good. We'll put the cover back on here in a minute. Okay, what we're looking for here in the well house is that the pressure is not at 60, falling to 40, and then cycling the well pump. It sounds like it's flowing free in here. So we're under 20 PSI, so we're taking every bit that pump can deliver and sending it down to the pond. It could be that in the house back there, they're using some water, which could be siphoning off some of the pressure. That should be a little bit higher, maybe 30 or 40 PSI. But what we don't want it to do is go to 60, turn off the well, and when the pressure drops below 40, the well comes back on, and just cycle the well and burn it out over a short period of time. We're at the pond's edge now, so we'll show you how the water makes its way into the pond through this 300 feet of system that Deb and I put in. There's the well water coming out right there. It goes down through these rocks. You can see it washing across that clay right there. Then it goes across that clay out into the pond. The pond is really low right now. It's about 3 foot deep. The very first black mark out there would be 4 foot. Now, we don't want this pond to go dry and pump water, 6 feet of water here. So we're doing some things to seal the bottom of this pond, but we want to be able to have a way to get water down here to top it off, because we can't put any fish in here until we can keep at least 4 feet of water in this pond. And while I'm thinking about it, I know people that see that trench that I dug for that water pipe are going to say it's not deep enough. It's going to freeze and break. Number one, there's no water in it unless I turn the valve on. And number two, we're in Florida and we don't have a frost line. A pipe down 12 inches here is the same as a pipe 3 foot deep in the northern climate. That pipe will never freeze. Got the trench all filled in. I'll just run over that with the tractor or push it down with the tractor bucket. But right now I'm gonna move that big pile of dirt, and we're gonna put it over here by the pump house where I've been storing the dirt from this project. And that dirt will be used to level around the pump house and other things that we need dirt for here on the farm. Speaking of dirt, how many bucket loads of dirt do you think there are in this pile? When I first started moving it, I thought maybe 3 bucket loads, but here I am already on the second one, and there's still a lot more to go. I'm running in medium gear and wide open throttle, but it's still taking some time to go back and forth. Here's bucket number 3, and now there's bucket number 4. Now I'm going to take some time and use the back blade here and scrape up some of this mud. This is clay from our pond, and it's real sticky, and I want to remove as much of it as possible so we can put down a good base layer of gravel. Have you been keeping count? Because here comes bucket number 6. We're not going to show you bucket number 7, and the very last bucket here is bucket number 8. I recently did the 400-hour service on the Kubota L3901. That's the full hydraulic fluid change, engine oil change, air filter, fuel filter. And I swear, it may just be me, but I feel like the tractor runs smoother. I feel like the hydrostatic is quieter. The hydrostatic transmission is quieter. Leave a comment down below. After you do a full service on your tractor, do you feel like it runs better? Just got back from picking up a new piece of equipment. You'll see that in a different video, and it's raining now, so I'm not going to be able to put in those railroad ties. Coming up is day 2.
That's why we want to gravel.
All right, guys, we're back at it here on day 2. We've had a bunch of rain since the last video quit, so the pond's come up a good foot. And luckily, this area in front here wasn't too muddy to get the equipment out and do some work. Goal is to get in these 4 railroad ties, and then all of the borders will be done for this new driveway. I think what we're going to do is come out at a little angle here so you have good turning range so you can go up where the camera is into that bay of the shop. Got that new water line in there I want to make sure I don't hit. I think we'll call that close enough. Mrs. Piney Grove is with me today, so she's actually watching Bella and moving the camera around. Don't want to over dig it. It's hot and humid out here today, and I don't want to do much shovel work. We're going to place the first railroad tie. Try and minimize how much I have to touch this by hand. Oh, looks like I could do a little bit of digging on this one end. You never get it exactly right, and you got to break out the shovel. See if we can put this thing in place. It's a little overdug on this end, so while the excavator holds up that end, I'll just shove some dirt up under here. That's typically what I do with the excavators, over dig. Got the machine just idling. Does plenty of work just at idle. Saves diesel fuel, but it also just isn't necessary to scream the machine. If I hear the hydraulic pump working too hard, I'll throttle it up a little, but as much as I can, I just try to do it slow and easy. Give it a couple of love taps. But that first one's in. Now we'll do 9 more feet. So I backfilled with the shovel. I'm gonna pack that in and back blade this here and get it pretty smooth. I can do better grading with the tractor. So I'm just gonna do a little bit here with the excavator. Look how close I am to that post right there. All right, so the goal is to back blade this off and leave just a little bit of dirt next to the railroad ties. I'm going to see if I can straddle it and pack the other side. I could do this easier if I wasn't sitting sideways. It's funny, I just can't drive it that way. This way I can drive it. You're supposed to be able to do it from either direction, but you see that I'm just not good enough. Make sure I don't hit the shop right there. That looks really good right there. All right, I like that right there. The same thing on this side. Do the rest with a shovel. All right, guys, now I'm gonna make the classic mistake of asking my wife how she wants this angle. Because if I just go ahead and do it, and then we live with it, it'll be fine. But I'm gonna ask her. Come on, babe. All right, Deb, we got this coming off at an angle from the shop, and then I was gonna go straight with 2 railroad ties. What do you think? Maybe go at an angle? She's shaking her head.
Yep, go at an angle.
All right, it's settled. Instead of squaring off here, we're gonna go at a slight angle to the driveway. Not real stable because I have the dozer blade on top of the railroad tie rather than on the ground. So this dirt here is a mixture of topsoil, clay, and a little bit of sand, whereas that dirt from the pond is all clay. Dig's different. This crumbles nicely rather than coming out in big chunks like I'm on a teeter-totter. It might be enough to put the first one down right there, and then if it's not right, I can always hold it up with the excavator and fill in under it like we did with that last one. Let's try it. Remember, the goal is not to shovel. Strip a little bit of this before I put that railroad tie in because it's not very level right here. All right, that'll give me a more level working surface. Try and put this railroad tie in place. It's actually easier to put it in place if you're farther away. Use the railroad tie to clean out the ditch a little. Definitely not perfect. Maybe I can beat it down on this side. I used to work on jet engines for the Air Force, and one of the guys I worked with used to say, beat it to fit and paint it to match. So that's what we're doing. Classic over dig. You backfill that with a shovel. By holding that in place, it just makes it real easy to get this level. And these don't have to be perfect. Once there's gravel on the other side of them, they're gonna look great, even if they're quite a bit off. Come over here, Miss Piney Grove. She was just complimenting herself on the angle. What'd you have to say? Here's the mic.
I was complimenting you on the angle. I said, do you like the angle? I think it looks great. Don't you think it looks great?
Leave a comment down below. How would you have done it? Would you have come straight off of the shed and squared it off? Or would you have come at an angle from the shed and an angle to the driveway? Also, leave a comment down below if you think she should be shoveling.
I'll shovel, give me the shovel.
Off camera, she said, I don't want to shovel.
I didn't. I did not. I said, give me the shovel, I'll shovel.
That's what she said. I guess the way I look at it is the shovel's sitting here. I'm not stopping you. Got a good friend on YouTube, Lucas, over at Peaks Peak Hobby Homestead, and he despises shoveling. So whenever I'm shoveling, he's always sending me a message of sympathy, I guess. What you got?
I have to comment when he said there's a shovel sitting here. I am just free help is all I am. So I must be told what needs to be done. I don't know. So.
You heard it right here. She loves to be told what to do. Hey, Lucas, you're right. Shoveling is dumb. Got a lot of dirt backfilled with the shovel. Now I'll pack it in with the excavator. One thing that's really great about this size excavator is it doesn't have any kind of emissions or DPF. So I can leave it idling and don't have to shut it off and start it up every time I get off of it. So right along this edge here is where it was over dug. I'm just packing it to tighten it up. You can see it bowing in the middle. It's getting there. I got to put a little more dirt here with the shovel. All right, I got the last trench dug for the last railroad tie. This is probably overdug on one end again. like the last few. But we'll get it in place and then backfill it. Actually, I think I gotta dig out that end. So I got this side a little high. Just take a little bit of dirt out of here and it should fit in there nicely. All right, round 2. Open the thumb. Doesn't look too bad. I'm gonna close up the gap between the two. Don't look bad at all. Yeah, go that way a little. That's what it looks like to me too. All right, it's perfectly lined up on that end. Tell me what it looks like. Is it good? She's giving me the head nod that it's good. Kind of like it where it is. I'm gonna put the blade on it to hold it in place and backfill it with the shovel. I can take the excavator and the blade and kind of push it, you know, an inch or so in any direction that I want. It's married up here good on the butt end. It's probably gonna be good enough. They are all in there. What do you think, Deb? You like it?
I love it. I think it looks fantastic. I think you and Precious did an amazing job as always.
That's going to do it for this phase of the gravel for the front of the mega shed. We sure appreciate you watching. If you would, click that like button. But otherwise, until next time, y'all take care out there. And remember,
Life's short, be kind.
and tractor hard.
Take care.